morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this June 12th version of AM Live on EOA. Your connection to Eastern Oregon, we're glad that you're here. If you have an interest in finding the locations of all of our content, if you go to eoa.network, that URL, it will take you to a link tree that will show you where our YouTube and our Facebook and our website, all of those different places, our podcasts, all of these things end up on our podcast, and it'll find all of that information. Here in just a little bit, we are going to have Union County Commissioner Paul Anderes will be right here with us.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's First Friday.
First Friday, and it does feel like it.
Yeah, just take a second and just take a pause for Deputy Johnson, Union County Sheriff deputy that we lost yesterday after a short battle with cancer, actually. It was a tough day for a lot of people yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. It was awful. And I think that service is going to be next Saturday. I don't know that they determined a time or a location yet, but I did hear that last night. So, no, awful.
Yeah. Cancer doesn't discriminate, unfortunately.
A real gut punch, yeah. So, well, what else is up?
Nothing. This is nice weather.
Yeah.
Keep it coming. That's what I say. Keep it coming. Sports world is like kind of slow, so like it's just a bunch of little league and a bunch of getting ready for Shrine. It's gonna start happening real soon.
Yep. Here we go.
I don't know if that just comes and then it's gone that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
And Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress in LeGrand. Give Dad the comfort that he deserves. Long days call for long-lasting comfort. Flex Steel. Perfect match recliners are built to support every well-earned break. Find his match now at Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm off Adams in LeGrand. Short AM Sports Report today, but we'll kick it off with the Little League All-Star Tournament. So coming up in just a little over a week, they're going to need your help. And if you can volunteer, do it. They need everything from scorekeepers to people to work on the fields. They have 42 teams playing 77 games, June 22nd through the 30th. They need, like I said, concessions, field prep, pitch count, garbage and cleanup. For more information, please reach out to Shane at 541-786-7134. You can also sign up on our Facebook page. If you look for that picture that we just showed, Benny, pull that picture back up. That picture right there in our Facebook feed right now, there's a link with that picture that takes you straight to the site where you can sign up for all these different jobs at different times during that week. And I'm sure that they would be very much appreciative of that. Been out taking tons of Little League pictures just for fun. The T-ball and the coach pitch are by far my favorite. Like, it's not even close. Like, these kids last all about like 5 minutes of attention span, and then they're sitting or they're picking their nose. I have like 4 or 5 pictures of kids picking their nose that I haven't posted, but I'm saving them in my annals because if I ever have that kid on my sports show when they're older, I'm busting that out for sure. You know, that's what I've been telling people. Like, why not take pictures of these kids right now when they're young, and then I can bust them out when they're 18, 17 years old. They're on my show.
Well,
Kendall DeYoung is a LeGrand cheerleader. She just graduated this year. She's going to be in the Shrine game. She's the LeGrand representative, and she'll be in studio today, so look for that to probably come out tomorrow. That'll be the first Shrine interview of the year. And as soon as I start hearing more about the rosters, I'll get the local kids on the show as well and get interviews done with them. And Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. They want to make you comfortable in your own home.
All right. Thank you, man. All right, let's take a look at the weather cam today. It's beautiful. It's warm. It's not too warm. I mean, at least it's getting cool in the evenings, which is like so wonderful. And then show us that graphic, Benny. 79 today, and it looks like that's close to the high for the next, I mean, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be in that area for the next several days. Over the weekend, going to be closer to 80s, but doesn't look like there's any rain in the forecast at all. So get out there and enjoy it. This is the time of the year to do that. And so unique. It's not too hot yet, but beautiful and cool. So, alrighty, we're going to take a break, and we will be right back with Union County Commissioner Paul Anderes. All right, we're back. Union County Commissioner Paul Anderes. This is the first time you've been on the new set.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, man. Thanks for being here. And we always enjoy the conversation with all the commissioners and keeping us up to date. And so, you doing all right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, yesterday was a tough day for a lot of folks, and certainly my thoughts are with that family. And then also yesterday there was a call it retirement party, going away party for Wallowa County Commissioner Susan Roberts.
Oh,
so she's resigning from her office.
Okay. She's actually resigning, like not she didn't fulfill her term.
No.
Oh, so she's just.
Yeah.
How do they do that if a commissioner steps down? What do you do?
There's a couple of ways to do it. I mean, you can just, usually the two remaining commissioners choose the person for interim until they can hold usually a special election, but it can be a regular election.
They just shoot, like the remaining commissioners can just say, "Hey, Joe Bob."
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's in Union County?
It's in
Oregon?
most every county in Oregon, yeah. The other option is if they can't agree, which, I mean, when you've got a commission of 3 and you've only got 2 deciding, then it can go to the governor to make the choice.
Really?
But the seat doesn't stay vacant.
Generally not very
Well,
long.
yeah, especially with only 2.
How long does it take them to get a special election?
That I don't know. I want to say 90 days at least, if not more. And they're not
wild.
cheap either. I mean, a special election, especially for, by the time you do ballots and everything, I think someone was telling me it was $30,000 to run an election. So, yeah. But she certainly has been a huge impact on my life and my work as a commissioner, and I'm going to miss her.
Wow. And so, Nash
Correct.
was a commissioner there. Who replaced him?
Lisa Collier is
Okay.
her name, and
Okay.
she has jumped in with both feet and done a really good job, especially with Commissioner Roberts being out on medical, and yeah, she's doing a great job. Already got her own legislation passed with the help of Senator Nash, and
good.
yeah, she's lighting the world on fire. And then actually, Senator Nash was there yesterday as well, and we had lunch before the program, and he's doing well. I would call it, I wouldn't say he's tired, but I'd say he's weary. because of the everything that's going on down there and being in the super minority. But he has gotten quite a number of bills passed, probably an inordinate number of bills passed for a freshman legislator. Yesterday, wolf compensation was signed by the governor, and that's been a long time in the works, and a lot of people worked on that, and he was able to get that through.
Yeah. And explain that again, because a lot of people don't understand why. I mean, I don't know what the damages are that were passed, but the wolf compensation, it increases the amount of.
Correct. So
just explain that.
right.
And why that is. Why that's. Yeah.
So in this particular piece of legislation, 50% of it will go to non-lethal deterrence, and then the other 50% will go to the producers, and it's a multiplier. And the one that they finally landed on was a multiplier of 5. So because there is a lot of research that shows that the ones that you don't find, the ones that you know, when the cattle get run through fences and get torn up, when they don't conceive, when they, you know, are stressed and they don't put on weight, all of that has been studied quite a lot in numerous states with wolf populations.
And all of that is an effect of the wolves chasing them or harassing them, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So now it's a multiplier of 5 on a confirmed only. Currently, you can apply for missing livestock, but that's on this new legislation is gone.
Okay.
So it's you have a calf that Fish and Wildlife and the county sheriff and Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife confirm as a predation by wolves. It's 5 times the current value of that animal.
Okay.
Up to I want to say it's 20,000, 25,000. So, and the hope is that we can get better information about how many are actually depredations, because a lot of people, you know, find a dead calf. Oh, I'm not going to call it in because it isn't worth my time. Hopefully, this will make it worth their time and
I
really
see.
get it.
Okay, so so even if if they found a dead calf and they have a suspicion that it's a wolf kill, then they won't turn it in because maybe they're only going to get $800. I don't know what a calf costs
Right,
these days,
yep.
but I'm just guessing. So all right, I follow that.
Yep.
So-
So he got that through. He got, as I said, the bill that Commissioner Collier introduced he introduced on her behalf, and that has to do with DMV driving tests. And I was unaware of this, but oftentimes other areas will come into our areas because it's easier to take a driving test in, say, Enterprise than it is in Tigard or
Oh,
Portland.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you don't have traffic, maybe.
Not nearly as much, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then those local kids were getting bumped out of the process. So now they have the first priority. In a nutshell, that's what the legislation does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like gun permit, concealed carry. You know, in Oregon, you can get it in any county. You're better off going to a rural county, like say, you know, Union or Polk on the west side is the one you want to go to. Otherwise, you sit there and wait for a year because they're not. It's not a priority to certain counties, but certain counties it's a priority. So you go in, you'll have it within a couple days.
Yep. Yeah. And our here locally, ours is pretty quick.
It is pretty fast. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if we talked about DMV yet, but I've been down here a couple of times, and they're actually very efficient. I mean, our local DMV. You know, you go in and they've changed their system, and I don't know. I was not there too long ago, and it was pretty efficient.
Yep. And I had the exact same experience. I mean, face that I knew, very helpful, got me through the process fairly quickly. Didn't have an appointment, just grabbed the number.
Yeah.
And that, I was very happy. And government tends to be a punching bag for everybody, and then
Right.
certain,
Yeah.
DMV in particular,
Yeah.
people, oh, they're the work. No, and they work really hard. Now, when you talk about the state level things,
Right.
that might be a little different conversation. But,
Right. Yeah. No, but it's
DMV's definitely the punching bag.
they
Right.
absolutely are.
You
Yeah.
see
What's,
Zootopia?
Yeah, that-
the
the
sloths
sloth.
work in the DMV. Yeah, they
well, yeah, and they didn't get that cliche for nothing.
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
but locally do a great job. Great people there.
Well, and you know what's funny? I went in there, and there's a kiosk, and you take a number. It's not just a number. I mean, you punch in your language preference
Right.
also, which was super interesting. And I thought, well, it's not like we have a bunch of Spanish-speaking people here. I thought, well, maybe a little overkill, And then, there were probably 8 people that were there, And this is an awareness moment for me. So I took the number, and then a few minutes later, in Spanish, over this thing, it said, hey, number so and so. And I thought, geez, what do you know? There is a need for that, even here in Eastern Oregon,
Yeah.
And so,
And not necessarily that they all speak Spanish, but 8% of our population in census is Hispanic,
yeah, no. So
which is the
anyhow,
largest minority group we've got in the county.
Yeah. Well, it's the largest minority group in the United States too. I mean, a lot of people don't talk about that, but
Right.
but I mean, if you look at the census data, there's a point out there where there will be more Latinos than there will be any other.
Yep.
Yep. So, anyhow, I took us down a rabbit hole, but that's all right. So I don't know. Tell us what else is going on in the county that.
Well, we
wanna
just
make us
finished
aware
up
of.
our budget process.
Yes.
And that I have every year I do, but give Shelley Burgess a lot of credit for. Actually, before I walked in, I was visiting with a commissioner from Jefferson County, and they're still wrapping up their budget process. And I said, "This is how ours works." And he goes, "Man, that would be nice." And I said, "It is pretty nice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's. I don't want to say that they're keyed in on the fact that we don't have an unlimited supply of money. We have to have a balanced budget, and some departments will ask for something in particular extra, and it's like, we would love to do that, but we don't have the money to do it. So, like I say, just got through that process. It's been hasn't been adopted. It's been put out for publication. We've got copies of it at the county offices if anybody would like to see it. But that was a good process, and we've got great volunteers that serve on the budget.
I was going to say, yeah. Who are the other 3 members that are
Correct. 3 members, and Matt Miles is one of them.
Yeah.
Audrey Kant from Imbler is one, and then Matthew Goodwin.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 Matts.
Yeah,
3 Matts actually, with Commissioner Scarfo.
that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, but that's always kind of a weight off of our shoulders when that's wrapped up for the most. I mean, it's still not official, but
Any significant changes in that?
there wasn't. Probably the biggest changes are to the county road department, and that's because of what's called SRS, Safe and Secure Rural Schools, which I think is a bit of a misnomer, but that is the money that the federal government provides counties to replace the timber receipts that we got traditionally, and
Okay.
it's a small portion of it, of what we had been getting, but that's a $500,000 hit to our road department. And then after the budget process was over, then it came out through the legislative process that there's probably going to be a pretty large cut to parole and probation, but our folks in that department have done a really good job on kind of saving some money, setting aside some, and then also they're not going to rehire one of their positions so that they can maintain within that budget and still provide the services that they need to. So
Well, and good managers do that along the line. You have to have a savings account to
Yeah.
cover those.
Well, and
yeah.
For a long time in my home, we didn't.
Well,
but, I mean,
yeah.
because, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about me, that's
Right.
for sure.
Yeah, and now we're
yeah.
able to,
Yeah.
so that's nice. And not necessarily county, but my wife retired from teaching.
Ah,
Yeah, so she's fully retired, and I think the garden is going to look especially good this year. So, pretty excited about that. But yeah, so those were probably the big shakeups to the budget. There was not a whole lot of impact from the federal government. There were, in the district attorney's office, there was a grant that was terminated early. And I'm trying to remember some other, I think that's the only one that I can recall right now.
now, do you have airports? I'm trying to remember.
I do, yeah.
Okay, and I mean, I think I saw a picture of Commissioner Sievert taking a tour of the air tanker. I don't know, kind of catch us up.
Yeah, who was standing right next to him?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it was on his page. Maybe that
Right,
was it.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So I'd love to talk about the airport.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Catch us up
Yeah,
on
this is gonna
fire
be, yeah.
season. Yeah.
So again, with the help of Senator Nash,
Okay.
There is a bill in front of the legislature, and it went through the first process. And what that is, Senator Nash has a lot of dad jokes and a lot of play on words. So this is a pilot program for airports. And it will be Union County's airport and then the airport in Harney County. And what it will do is work with Oregon Emergency Management and augment temporary fuel storage at the airport. Right now, we are like right on the edge on whether we can deliver enough. And there's a whole number of factors that go into us getting our fuel here. We don't have regular air service, so we don't have regular delivery. So we're buying on the open market, and sometimes that's relatively difficult. So that bill would provide basically a semi and trailer that we could offload if we were to be able to get a load and didn't have the storage for it, and then obviously use that first. The other part of it is Oregon Emergency Management, like conflagration that's going on in the Dalles right now. They would bring in that truck. They would also bring in 2 of the fueling trucks to speed up that process. And then there's money in there to study the what we need to be able to fulfill all the needs on a heavy fire season. And then any money that's not used out of that will go to helping put those improvements in.
The big question is, do you think this bill has the wings to get off the ground?
Oh.
I'd say it has legs. I don't know if it's got wings. Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I spent some time down in Salem on our regular trip down there, and I made some appointments before I went, and Senator Girard, who's on Ways and Means, I made an appointment with him, and then his chief of staff said, "What's the topic?" And I told her, and she goes, "Oh," and I said, "Oh?" And she goes, "He doesn't take meetings on policy bills that are in Ways and Means." And I said, "Okay, well, my apologies, I was unaware of that." And she goes, "We're going to make an exception for this one." I said, "Okay, great." So kind of the backstory to that is during the 2020 fires, Senator Girard's house burned down. Home burnt down.
Okay.
So he's very, very sensitive to
It's
fire.
a felt need right there.
Yeah, and the impacts to it. And then I had Lucinda in our planning department do a map of the footprint that this tanker base covers, and was able to show, and it's stark when you look at how far we're delivering, well, we're not. The contractors through the Forest Service are delivering retardant. And it's a big chunk of Eastern Oregon, give or take 200 air miles. So they're knocking on the door of the outside of Portland once they can fly further, but for round trips, that's about it. It's 200 miles on the efficiency, or they'll start flying out of another. So so we got a tour of the tanker base. Part of the reason that they wanted is Union County did some work to the apron there, did some improvements, and some of them might seem kind of small, but there was an edge that they cleaned that up, and it drains better now. And then also they've got on the seat sides, the single engine air tankers, they've got really good tie downs for them. And Memorial Day weekend, either side of that, they had I can't remember the exact dates, they had the fire in Fossil, outside of Fossil, 1,800 acres, and there was 4 loads of retardant that came out of here to that fire. And I think they were expecting a lot more, potentially. And we had, at one point, had 6 air tankers sitting on the apron out there.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So is there retardant storage out here also?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
is that do we have enough of that, or where is that sit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they've got a really good system through the National Interagency Fire Center, and we are very strategic because I apologize, I can't remember which one of the bases is doing runway work, so they're down to one runway.
Okay.
So we're going to be taking a lot of their responsibility.
Yeah.
A lot of the responsibility is going to be coming out of the Union County Airport.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm hopeful that Ways and Means, never want to see anything like happening in Rowena right now.
In where?
Rowena.
I
It's that, it's in between Hood River and the Dalles.
Okay.
Or actually, I think it's on the other side of Hood River, towards Portland. 20 homes lost yesterday and last night.
From fire?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's not the first time that area is burnt. Is it?
Correct.
Yeah. I want to say recently too.
And it rings some bells for me as well. And I think that it might have been, and don't quote me on this, but I think it might have been part of that Eagle Creek fire.
Yeah, you might.
Years,
It was
2015.
There was one 2 summers ago. I remember it clearly because Bennett and I were on our way back from Bend, and we had to go over into Washington because that whole side
Yep.
in between, it was on fire. I mean,
Yep.
I remember that very clearly.
So, like I say, hopeful on the passage of that bill, or actually it has gone as far as it can go until they put the financials on it. In the scheme of things, it's not a huge ask. And that money it wouldn't come here, but would go to Oregon Emergency Management.
Okay.
Oh, there is another
Please.
point to the bill. And I honestly, when we were crafting the bill and getting it written through Senator Nash's office, I thought, you know what, this would be nice to have, but not a necessary. And if they start to balk, we can certainly take that out and no harm, no foul. And they left it in, which was a little bit of a surprise. And that is a small fleet of loaner cars, because with one taxi, no Uber, and the distance between the airport and town, getting the pilot and crews and mechanics back and forth into motels was a little bit troubling. And so we'll have more loaner cars during high fire season, because ours go out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because that's also tourist season. A lot of folks fly in here to go to Wallowa County.
Yeah. Well, awesome.
Yeah. It's like I say, I'm encouraged, but not holding my breath. And then obviously the fairground funding bill is a higher priority because we've been working on it longer. And I mean, we're okay on fuel, but we're not okay at the fairgrounds.
Right. So how many? Just quick question. How many gallons does a typical fuel tanker, an 18-wheeler, have? You have a
10,000 gallons.
10,000. Okay.
Yep.
And the capacity storage out there right now is, I think you said 40. Is
Right.
that what you said in the past?
Yep. We increased it, and now it's 40.
Okay. So then even having a temporary tanker sitting out there increases the capacity by
Yep.
10,000, and you would use that first.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. And and just in that short time that the tankers were here that I was talking about, they used 6,500 gallons of Jet A.
Wow.
Yeah, those things, and one of the things, and I had this conversation with some of the folks when we were touring the tanker base, remember when we had the prop planes and they'd come out of the airport and they'd circle a couple times to get enough air underneath them to get out of the valley?
Yeah.
These guys don't do that. They, as soon as they're off the runway, they put the coals, throw the coal to the fire, and
Yeah.
and they just straight out of the valley. They're
And these
not.
are jets. These
Correct.
are right.
These are
okay.
jets.
Yeah.
There is one prop plane out there.
Okay.
And the reason that they use that, it's a little bit more maneuverable.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, they use an awful lot of in one afternoon, especially if they're flying hot laps and moving pretty quickly. They're somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 to 20,000 gallons.
For the
Full
for all of
consumption
them. Yeah.
for all of them. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many trips will, I mean, let's say if you have an active fire within our area and it's halfway in between the radius of wherever we go, how many trips will a plane make out of the airport every day?
I don't know.
Okay.
Multiple though.
Right, yeah.
And then they can stand down for a little while
Right.
and then go
Yeah.
again. But when we had the ones that were just across the border into Washington and then some in Wallowa County,
Yeah.
that's when we really got into a fuel crunch.
Yeah.
It was really pretty tough at that point because they were making such quick laps
Right.
and
But still, if in one day you're using 6,000 gallons,
16.
16,000.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so that's not very much. 40,000 would go real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when we call and say, hey, we need a tanker load of 10,000 gallons. And they said, well, we can probably get it to you on next Wednesday. It's troubling.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, we've increased the fuel storage and hopefully this bill will pass and we'll see where we get with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we were talking a little bit about a ODOT transportation bill. That's what give us a summation of that and kind of tell us where that's at.
Okay. So in the interim between the short session last summer, basically, the Joint Committee on Transportation did a listening tour across Oregon. I want to say they were in Astoria, they were in Chemeketa, Bend, and Ontario, and Hermiston. And listening tour. And there were a couple things that especially commissioners on the east side. One was the gas tax now is split three ways. 50% of it goes to the state, 30% of it goes to counties, and 20% of it goes to cities.
And what is that gas tax now?
Right now, I want to say it's 48 cents a gallon.
Okay. All right.
So we said, keep the split because, I mean, a lot of people don't realize, but your property tax does not support our road department. It's gas tax and then some federal money that comes in, but it's not, oftentimes people will say, hey, I pay taxes.
Right,
Well,
right.
Thank you. We appreciate that, but that doesn't go to support our road department. So the bill that's been proposed by the majority party has a significant number of tax increases. One statistic I read is 37 different increases to and one of it is a gas tax, which will go up significantly. The payroll tax that you see on your check every month will increase significantly. Most of the tax, and then license fees, registration, driver's tests, CDL licensing, all those things are going up. Most of those fees and charges are going up at least 100%, if not somewhere to 150%. CDLs are 200 and some odd percent increase.
Right. But like title, we were going through that earlier. Title is like going from $80 to almost $180 or something like that. Or,
70 something, yep,
Yeah,
70
yeah.
something, yep, to
Yeah.
180.
Yeah.
Pretty significant
Right.
increase.
Right.
Yeah.
And we as you read through them, that's a very similar increase. CDL was like crazy, like 120 to over $500
Yeah,
or something like that.
if
yeah.
I recall, yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And part of it is, there's tax increases in there so that, I mean, depending on how you interpret the rules, that's going to have to be, have a 2/3 majority to raise those taxes. I also understand that they've found some ways around that, so they don't need the Republicans to pass any of that. Yeah.
So help us sort through that. How much of that is necessary, and how much of it is overkill? And it doesn't really matter, because you get it all or you get none of it, right? I mean,
right.
the way it's packaged.
Yep.
But
And I don't know. I mean, locally, our Public Works Department works really well with the ODOT. I have a ton of respect for the ODOT folks in this region,
Right.
and you know, the people that plow the roads and take care of potholes and things like that. But again, I'm not sure how efficient the Salem office is.
yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
So
Isn't there a worry, like if that bill does pass, that people just aren't going to register their vehicle? You know what I mean? Like people aren't making any more money. You know what I mean? So like you're just going to have people driving a C. I mean, I know it's happened before. People will just drive a CDL vehicle without a CDL driver's license if it costs $500 to get. Is there a worry for that?
Oh yeah, most
I mean,
certainly.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most certainly. Or not registering your vehicle. You know, the gas tax is a little bit more difficult to get around, but if you're in Ontario, you can go to
Go right across
Fruitland,
the
and
border.
it's significantly cheaper over there. Or not always, but is cheaper over there. But you know, your payroll tax. I mean, and if you do make more, they're going to take more.
Right.
So yeah.
But the optional stuff to do, you know, well, not saying that it's optional, but
Yeah.
like registering your vehicle, you
Cer-
can still drive without that.
certainly a concern.
Yeah, I mean
Yep.
that is a concern.
Yeah.
now, and did ODOT? I'm going back. You know, it seems like maybe it's been a year and a half ago now. ODOT put out a press release and said, "Oh, by the way, this winter in Eastern Oregon, we're only gonna." Was that kind of the beginning of a ploy, for lack of a better term, to like get the attention of like, hey, we need some major funding? Or has this been going on for a while?
Well, part of it is in their defense.
Okay.
You know, and you look at my own family. My wife has a significantly better mileage car. The pickup I drive now gets a lot better mileage than the one that I was driving.
Right, so they don't have as much money.
So yeah, the revenues from the gas tax are going down.
And if electric cars
Right.
are not contributing. Yeah.
Well, and there is something
Okay.
in there
Yeah.
to start charging electric cars.
Yeah.
And I that was really to encourage the purchase of electric cars.
Yeah.
As part of the climate initiative that they
Yeah.
had. So, and then the other thing is a lot of the products that road departments and ODOT use are petroleum based.
Yeah.
I mean, from the
Yeah.
diesel that runs the trucks that plow the roads, to everything that's in asphalt, or not everything, a lot of which is
Yeah.
yeah. So those costs keep escalating, and then, in my view, ODOT at the state level kind of got themselves into a little bit of trouble by chasing federal money, and that is they would have to do a match for a grant that they got to fix a part of the freeway somewhere in Oregon, and then the cost escalated, so their costs went up because the grant was only so much.
Got it. Okay.
And then there was also, you know, apparently there were some fairly significant accounting errors in ODOT that had a lot of zeros behind it.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, the whole mess with them redoing the handicap ramps on multiple intersections multiple times. You know, I mean that there's just been some things over the years that have, from a PR standpoint, that have not been healthy for them.
Right. Well, and that was court ordered.
Right. Right, but still, it's
Yeah.
like, doesn't matter who. I was like, what, you spend whatever amount of money on an intersection and you can't get it right the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the designs, I'm not an engineer.
Right.
But I'm certainly a user, and I can think of some that are not far from this location that I'm looking at. I'm going,
What were you thinking?
yeah.
No, I mean,
And I don't know that was all ODOT. That might have been the companies that were contracted and to engineer and,
Yeah.
and install.
Well,
it.
I mean, some of these, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, and I forget who we've talked to about, but some of these downtown intersections, and it's not just here, but you see it places, you see this island, a decorative island that's kind of in the middle, and it's like a snow plow. I mean, that's going to have, in our climate, whoever designed that really didn't have any idea of what a problem that
Right.
was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyhow. Well, so again, I guess back to it then. I mean, that's probably going to come at us and it's going to impact us as our families.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's when you add all those things up and typical registrations and typical
Yeah.
driving and mileage and things like that, it's well over $1 billion in additional taxes on top of what we're already paying through payroll, gas tax, et cetera.
Wow.
And that's only if this bill passes, right?
Correct.
What's the what bill is it? Do you know it off the top of your head? I could look it up.
5025, I think, is the bill number.
Yeah.
Bill 5025.
Most of the agencies, those bills start with the 50, and then
Is
yeah,
it
it's-
House bill?
yes,
So we're getting down to, and we're getting the end of the legislative session is this month.
correct.
Right. And so then, and normally they say controversial things and financial things, big financial things too,
Right.
right? I mean,
Right.
I mean, if I'm misstating
Which is
that.
interesting to me because, I mean, and you know, it's easy to sit back in this
Right,
chair and,
right.
excuse me, criticize, but, you know, in my way of thinking, I would think that the very highest priorities would be public safety, transportation, and education.
Okay.
One of those categories. How
Right.
about we start by solving those,
Right.
and then start looking at
Right.
what else? I mean, almost again like a home budget.
Right.
You take care of your fixed cost, if you will, and then it's like, okay, we've got this much discretionary. So I think we've got a significant and locally a significantly better relationship with, and not that our relationship with Senator Hansel was necessarily bad, but Senator Nash, having been a county commissioner with us, I mean, for years we've talked way too much. My wife makes fun of us. But, you know, yesterday I was able to have lunch with Senator Nash and his granddaughter before the event for Commissioner Roberts. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Oh, I was going to say it's House Bill 2025.
2025.
Yeah, you were
Good.
close. 2052 is close
Yeah.
to 2025.
Yeah,
2025.
and it's extensive. I mean, if you start to read through that.
Yeah, it's already giving me a headache.
Right.
I'm just going to close it.
Oh, and there is still time if people want to testify on that. Go to olis.gov. Oregon Legislative Information System is what that stands for, and they can register to testify on it. My guess is it's probably filled, and they won't get to you in their time frame, but you can still supply written testimony. I want to say it's up until Sunday night.
Yeah. Well, and I smiled when you said earlier there was a listening tour, because every listening tour, everything I've ever been to that was listening it felt like you all have already made the decision. You're just softening the blow by giving us a little bit of, I don't know.
And I could see that. But
Yeah, super
I
skeptical.
will tell you that,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I finished what I was going to say, but so we wanted to maintain the split on the gas tax.
Oh, yes,
and then
yeah, please.
And then the other part that was a common theme among a lot of people in Eastern Oregon is take care of our roads. Fill the potholes, fix the guardrails, plow the snow in the wintertime,
Right.
those kinds of things. And that, I am confident, resonated with that group.
Yeah.
And there are some things in the bill to make sure that maintenance is still there. But, you know, at one point last winter, they were talking about over 1,000 layoffs at ODOT
wow.
because And again, was that, I don't know how that's going to play out
Right.
in on the ground work.
Yeah. Now, do you, and this might be a question out of your purview, but the Social Security and Medicare that's happening at the national level, and what I understand more is that the state of Oregon depends more on some of that national reimbursement than what other states have do. And so then part of the fear in the healthcare industry is that in order to balance those numbers, it'll make a difference. I mean, if at a national level they're providing less and Oregon is more dependent on that national money, then how are they going to balance the budget? What do you have any recollection of where that conversation's at?
Yeah, kind of out of my wheelhouse,
Yeah.
like you said. But there's the one that I hear consistently is Medicare, Medicaid,
Yeah.
and then SNAP benefits.
Yeah.
I know that they will have some impact to Oregon, but I honestly haven't been tracking that closely. I think I'm okay announcing this. Senator Wyden's going to be in town a week from tomorrow and having a town hall here, and I suspect he'll have a lot of information at that point.
Good. All right. So what else? What else is in the county? You have any hot buttons out there that you can?
Oh gosh, stock show just got over. That's always kind of for me a milestone that kind of really kicks summer off. Great crowds out there. Really like the volunteerism that's out there. We did recently adjust our transient lodging tax and the way that that's distributed. And one of the things, or a couple of things we did on that adjustment were to dedicate some money to the Sheriff's Department for those extra patrols, whether it be on New Year's or stock show or Elgin Stampede, or even the 4th of July in Union. That was one of them. We dedicated some money to search and rescue, because they are the more visitors we get, and we've got Oregon's largest wilderness area literally in our backyard.
Right.
And it keeps those volunteers hopping, so we want to make sure they're supported. And then it may seem like a small amount, but it's 1% of the money we're able to distribute is dedicated to a relatively new nonprofit, and that is Loveland Safe Ride.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah, happy to do that. The good things that Kevin and Jerry and that crew have done are, and we thought it was important that we, even if it's not a lot, to show them some support.
Good. So say that again. Where are those? What funds are those that?
Transient lodging tax.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So most people don't notice it, but on your motel bill or Airbnb even, there's a called transient lodging tax, transient room tax.
Yeah.
They're kind of interchangeable. And in Union County, it's 3%. City of LeGrand has an additional 3%, so it's 6% in city limits because county and city. And then to give you an idea, Tillamook County had a lot of conversations with one of the commissioners over there, and she was telling me theirs is 11, and they're talking about bringing it to 13%.
Wow.
Because they've got so many visitors and need a way to provide some services to them.
Yeah. And I sit on that committee that helps to, which is funny. I mean, so then I think that the committee that I'm a part of, I mean, I think there's about $120,000 a year in grants that are given out, but a lot of people don't even know that those are available. I mean,
right.
And so, yeah, so then, so if somebody, if a not-for-profit has, so it can't be a government organization, but it can't be private. But if a nonprofit like LeGrand Main Street or Union Eastern Oregon Livestock Show or Elgin Stampede, or if any of those folks are looking for funds to, I mean, I know this, like EOLS, they improved their kitchens with some of those funds. And a few years ago, the Union County Fair, they bought bleachers, or the Maverick, you know,
Right,
and
yep.
so, yeah, so that money is available for people to apply for and get grants for those projects to do.
Yep, and it's nice that we have that ability to support those things. Two of the things that we usually have more requests than we have
Right,
funds available,
actually,
which is
yep.
normal.
Right.
And then the other is it's a limited window that those are open, and a lot of people go, hey, can I apply for the transient lodging tax? And it's like, sorry, the window closed last month or 2
Right.
months ago or whatever,
Right.
and that's difficult as well.
Yeah. No, and I've been, but it's still, it's what I mean, it's the same. Here's another little known fact, okay, is that if a community wants to have a cleanup day, like the city of LeGrand, there are matching funds that are available through Union County for them to, I mean, at least there has been in the past, put it that way. Did
Not
that change?
transient lodging tax.
No, not.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no,
yeah. Yep.
No, but the
Yep.
point is the Union County holds some of these funds in order to invest
Correct.
in different projects
Right.
and in different things.
And that one in particular comes from the solid waste district fund, which is part of your garbage bill, part of
Right.
the service that either Union Sanitation or Waste Pro provide. It's on your bill.
Right.
And I think it's been really successful, whether it's Main Street LeGrand, City of Elgin, City of North Powder, City of Cove, City of Union,
Right.
having a cleanup day, and we match, and they use that money to buy dumpsters
Right.
or things like that.
But what I find is that cities normally don't take a lot of that money is just left. They don't take advantage of that. And part of it is, like for instance, in that particular thing, let's say if you're gonna have a cleanup, like, because I run the cleanup day for LeGrand Rotary, and we partner with LeGrand Main Street and different things
Right.
like that, and Island City could take advantage of that, and so could City of LeGrand, but if it's in May, then they've got to get the city has to match those funds in some manner.
Right.
Which then requires some action at the council level.
Right.
And it takes some forethought, and then it's got to go to the county, and
And I would say that, especially in the case of those smaller towns, it's almost like clockwork now.
Yeah.
And I would consider it more a formality than anything, because we've got it budgeted in that particular budget, that
Yeah.
X number of dollars. This is what we're up to in a match.
Yeah.
And now and I'm not sure about the one you're involved with, but the others, I mean, it's like
Good, they're doing it. Good, yeah.
And really making a big difference.
Good. Yeah. All right. Well, Paul, anything else we need to talk about before we quit?
I can't think of anything right now.
You're doing all right?
I'm good. It's the legislative session, even as not a participant. I mean, I am a participant,
Yeah.
but not as a part of that. I mean, I track it fairly closely, trying to make sure I know what's going on and the things that are going to affect our county, and obviously lobbying for things that, the fuel bill, for example, or the
Right.
fairgrounds bill. And I'm ready for it to be over. And Eastern Oregon Women's Coalition, they were here a few years ago. They're having their meeting in July. Always look forward to that. That's a great event. This year it's going to be at Wild Horse.
Oh, cool.
And I want to say July 24th and 25th.
Okay.
So
All righty. Well, thank you, man.
you bet. You
Yeah.
bet. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate you being here. Really do.
You bet.
All right. Want to get us out of here?
Let's do it.
All right.
On this day, June 12th, 1845, George Abernethy becomes the first governor of Oregon Country. 1917, on this day, the U.S. Secret Service extends protection to the President of the United States' family as well. So they didn't protect the family. until 1917.
Huh.
1918, the first aerial bombing raid by an American unit takes place in France. 1939, the Baseball Hall of Fame is dedicated in Cooperstown, New York. 1987, President Ronald Reagan challenges Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down the Berlin Wall. 2019, on this day, the earliest evidence of humans smoking cannabis discovered in a 2,500-year-old grave in Pamir Mountains, China, and published in Science. On this day, the #1 movie in America in 2015, Jurassic World. And the quote of the day comes from Astrid Alada. Don't let your mind bully your body into believing it must carry the burden of its worries. One more time. Don't let your mind bully your body into believing it must carry the burden of its worries.
All right.
That's
Thank you, man, for being
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you next week.